The financial queen who once went bankrupt. Suze Orman, named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world for 2 consecutive years, has won the prestigious Emmy Award twice and earned the title of Personal Finance Authority. Originally, she was just a waitress earning $400 a month. After going through various life challenges, she has now become a renowned finance author and a highly sought-after TV show host. Suze Orman, with her story of passion and perseverance, is truly an inspiration. On a Saturday night, after watching the Suze Orman show on CNBC, Michelle, who lives in Boston, immediately cut up all the credit cards in her wallet and deleted all the online shopping website links saved on her computer. The reason she decided to change her spending habits was that the host, Suze Orman, repeatedly emphasized on the show, wide-eyed and fiercely saying, "As long as you keep using credit cards to buy things you can't afford, you will continue to live in a lie." She added, "So no buying, no buying, no buying. Do you hear me?" Among Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world, she is the only personal finance expert to be selected, and probably the most fierce and fiery one at that. In May of this year, Time named Suze Orman one of the 100 most influential people of 2009. In fact, this tough woman has held this title for 2 consecutive years. Not long ago, Time magazine also gave Suze Orman a loud new title, Queen of the Crisis. This title is quite fitting. In the midst of this once-in-a-century financial storm, Americans realized that Suze Orman wasn't just a loud, sensational figure. Every word she shouted turned out to be financial truths that were not only accurate but easily overlooked. Well, to be honest, I do like being called a queen. But I'm really sorry it's happening during this time because not only is the US still in the storm, but so is almost the entire world. Suze Orman explained the meaning behind her new title in an exclusive interview with this magazine. "It doesn't seem like a joyous occasion for a queen when people are losing money, but at times like these, someone has to stand up and tell the truth, giving the best financial advice. And I believe no one can do it better than me." Indeed, Suze Orman not only keeps Americans glued to their TVs every week to listen to her speak, but she has also authored 9 books on financial freedom and wealth management, almost all of which have landed on the New York Times bestseller list. USA Today has called her the world's authority on personal finance. The financial program she hosted on PBS even earned her 2 Emmy Awards. Nowadays, she commands up to $80,000 per speaking engagement, yet the invitations keep pouring in. In fact, as early as 1995, Suze Orman began advising Americans to change their borrowing and spending habits and revise their views on money. At the time, however, Americans were not ready to listen, and some were even annoyed by her strong hosting style. The more people didn't want to hear her, the more intensely Suze Orman delivered her criticisms. This intense aversion to wrong views on money, in part, comes from her painful experiences growing up. From a young age, Suze Orman knew the truth of the saying, "A penny saved is a penny earned." Growing up in a poor family, her parents never had enough money to pay the bills. At that time, the word money represented tension and anxiety in the Orman household. In her teens, a tragedy profoundly affected Suze Orman. When she was 13, her father's chicken shop caught fire. As the flames engulfed the shop, her father suddenly remembered something and, despite the raging fire, ran back into the blaze. It turned out that her father was trying to save the cash register, which contained every penny they had earned. Unfortunately, cash registers in those days were made of metal, and the flames had already melted it shut. With no other choice, her father carried the entire heavy register outside. After he dropped it to the ground, young Suze saw that his chest and arms were badly burned, with his skin sticking to the scorching hot metal. Her father was hospitalized with 3rd-degree burns, leaving her with an indelible memory of the importance of money. Perhaps because of this memory, whenever Suze Orman hears a viewer call into her show seeking advice, but dismissing the importance of money or overspending, she becomes furious and shouts, "Are you crazy? You want to borrow money to buy a treadmill? I'm telling you, start walking up and down the stairs for exercise, because you're not spending a single penny." In reality, Suze Orman didn't always aspire to become a financial expert. Her initial dream was to open her own restaurant. After graduating from college, she applied for a waitress job at a restaurant. However, at the time, she earned only $400 a month and worked for 6 years without saving enough to pursue her restaurant dream. Until one day, a regular customer at the restaurant heard about her dream and frustration, which changed everything. The next day, this regular customer handed Suze Orman a $50,000 check with a note saying, "Pay it back within 10 years, interest-free." This generous patron not only gave her the first step toward her dream, but also advised her, "Open an account with Merrill Lynch and let the financial advisor invest it for you." Suze Orman listened. She walked into Merrill Lynch, where a financial advisor greeted her warmly. Suze Orman explained that she was just a waitress with a low income and that the money was borrowed, so it needed to be invested safely. The advisor then asked her to sign some documents. Little did Suze Orman know that this signature would lead to significant risks. The advisor invested all her money in high-risk options. At first, Suze Orman made a lot of money. She picked out a restaurant location, found a company to handle the decor, and everything seemed within reach. However, within just 3 months, the market took a sharp downturn, and all her money vanished overnight. I knew I had lost a fortune, and with my $400 monthly salary, there was no way I could pay back the debt. After losing money to an advisor, Suze Orman decided to become an advisor herself at Merrill Lynch. But Suze Orman looked at it differently. If the person who lost all my money can become a financial advisor, why can't I? After experiencing both big wins and big losses, she realized that this career was the way to make big money. She began diligently studying the investment market, reading the Wall Street Journal and Barron's every week, keeping up with the latest market information, and plastering her room walls with stock and options price charts. This combination of imaginative thinking and proactive action eventually became the turning point in Suze Orman's life. Even with only a social work degree from the University of Illinois and several years of waitressing experience, she boldly returned to Merrill Lynch, not to open an account, but to apply for a job as a stockbroker. From that moment, her life took a completely different direction. On the day of her interview, she wore her favorite blue silk shirt with red and white striped pants tucked into cowboy boots. Full of confidence, she walked into Merrill Lynch, but was met with odd looks due to her unusual outfit, which was rarely seen in the financial world. Every interviewer pointed at her clothes, asking, "Why are you dressed like this?" Ultimately, she got the job, and the reason was surprising. The branch manager was required by company policy to hire a woman that day. However, this wasn't the biggest shock to her. On her first day at work, she immediately realized that she didn't belong there. All the other brokers drove Mercedes and BMWs, while I drove an old 1967 Volvo. Even though her salary increased from $400 a month as a waitress to $1,500, she couldn't afford the parking fees. For the first 6 months at Merrill Lynch, Suze Orman parked on the street, racking up parking tickets, which she paid off by doing community service. I still remember, my colleagues would go out to lunch every day, while I stayed in my car eating cheap fast food. Though she often felt out of place, Suze Orman remained grateful every day, thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is incredible. I don't have to be a waitress for the rest of my life." 3 months into her job, she sued her employer. Eventually, Merrill Lynch returned the $50,000 she initially invested, along with interest, and kept her on after completing her training. I thought, what if this had happened to my parents or other elderly people? They're too old to make up for that lost money. With these thoughts in mind, Suze Orman decided to become a protector of people's money, a mission that drove her to quickly amass expertise in finance while maintaining her original intent to always think from the client's perspective. She was never afraid to expose the lies that plagued the financial markets. Over time, unlike typical financial advisors, Suze Orman became a mix of expert and grocery shopper, deeply understanding her clients' needs and offering professional financial advice in the simplest terms. This was her greatest advantage when she started her own business in 1987, which ultimately set her on the path to becoming a finance queen. Today, Suze Orman is no longer the 30-year-old waitress earning $400 a month. She now owns real estate globally valued at approximately $15 million, holds $25 million in bonds, and has stocks worth around $900,000, with a total net worth of at least $40 million, growing alongside her fame. Suze Orman's old colleagues are mostly surprised that she's now a household name in the US, and even she is amazed at the twists in her career. I'm not a smart person. I wasn't good at school, never got above a C in college, and I never had many expectations for life. I didn't know where I was headed. So when opportunities came her way, Suze Orman grabbed them without hesitation, always thinking about how to do things better. Even now, I still give it my all, working more than 17 hours a day. On the day of the interview, her appointment with the reporter was at 10 a.m., but Suze Orman had already finished breakfast by 6 a.m., prepared for meetings to discuss product developments and TV show details, and even wrote a column before the interview. When asked how she manages to stay so energized, Suze Orman replied, "It's simple, I love the work I've chosen." Especially in the current economic downturn, with unemployment rates soaring, Suze Orman believes that everyone should try to reconnect with their original purpose because attitude is everything. She emphasizes that having the right attitude is the only key to weathering this financial storm. You must acknowledge that it's your own actions that got you into financial trouble, so stop blaming others. Face reality, remember your past mistakes, and those mistakes will become kind teachers, guiding you on how to restart step by step. As she wrote in her autobiography, she had a speech impediment as a child and couldn't clearly pronounce certain letters. But now, she's a host on CNBC, delivering her sound financial principles with precise diction. If you listen closely, you'll notice that I still enunciate every word very clearly. She explained that once you know where the problem lies, it becomes easier to solve. You overcome it, just like I overcame my speech impediment. It's difficult, but success is always possible. Suze Orman's famous quotes. Attitude is everything. People first, then money, then things.